Hello everyone and welcome to today's art stream. Looks like sound and everything is working okay, so we're doing alright. I think we're doing okay. Yes, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. As I mentioned in the title description here, today we are working on a Warlock character. I believe they are packs of the Blade, as you know, you can probably tell by the blade. And they're freaking cool. I really enjoy kind of helping design this character, and today we're going to start painting them. As you can see, line art's all ready to go. Orange Juice God, welcome. I'm pleased you're able to make it. And thank you so much to everyone. The settling into the new place is going really well. Obviously, we still have the wall damage you can slightly see in the background, but hopefully we'll be getting someone to take a look at it and make sure we haven't got big problems with leaks in the roof. Fingers crossed. Thank you so much, Britblade and Rebel, for the subscription, and the host. Thank you so much. And yes, this is a very handsome fella. They are a human warlock of a very wintry, frosty themed archfey. In fact, I believe this character's name is simply Frost. And they have a very cool kind of blade. It's kind of all kind of very pointy, wintry plants themed is kind of the vibe here. We've got very organic, kind of plant-based style armor, and they're going to be all crusted with frost. It's going to be a very cool, cool piece. So we're gonna get stuck in, and as I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with my painting, I start with painting in the skin. So that's what we're going to get started with today. Thank you so much, Leza, for the donation. That's incredibly kind. What an amazing start to the stream. Thank you so much. That's super appreciated right now. I'm in the middle of getting everything set up and ready to start really making some cool content coming up along with the streams. I am looking to invest in a camera this weekend so that I can start filming my progress as I do some costume making this weekend. I'm starting work on some LARP costume, and I'm hoping to film some of the process so I can kind of make not an instructional video, but like a video diary of how it goes, and with a bit of tutorial element to it. Just breaking down if you wanted to try making your own kind of cosplaying costumes and that sort of thing. So I'm just gonna tilt my camera a little bit, because otherwise I'm gonna be disappearing from the frame when I lean terribly over my tablet the way I do. So I already have, this layer is our skin, so let me just name some of these layers, because I'm gonna start as I mean to go on, which is good behavior. And then I'm just going to grab the colour and use as my base starting colour. I think I decided this one is going to be our base. I like to pick something in the middle of the highlights and the shadows, so I can kind of go both ways. And yeah, we're just going to start slapping down this colour. I love this colour. It's such a nice rich colour. But yeah, thank you very much for the kindness on the new setup. It's definitely getting there. If you've seen the tweet I put out at the start of the stream, you can kind of get a glimpse of my desk area. The tragic thing about streaming is obviously through my camera, you guys only see what's behind me, which at the moment is the completely undecorated part of the room. The nice bit that I've painted and actually decorated is unfortunately the bit you can't see. But when I have a nice proper, like when everything's done, when I've painted everything and it's got a nice studio feel to it, I will take some pictures. Because I like, one of the reasons I'm doing it all myself is to try and save money, because I can't afford to have it professionally done. So I'm kind of just trying to do everything that's inside my own head and bring it to life in the room. So if anyone's thinking of doing a similar thing, like customizing a room, making their own studio setup sort of thing, I'd be more than happy to answer questions. Or maybe even like once it's all finished, I can make a little video and run down like where I got various things, because I did everything with a lot of research, trying to get like the cheapest but also like decent stuff. So for example, the desk I've got and the desk I'm going to use as my sewing desk, they're absolutely flipping huge. Really big desks, the size of drafting tables, which means they're perfect for art. And obviously with my setup, I've got my graphics tablet, my big kind of, well, it's not that big, but my Cintiq goes in front of my screens, and I also have to fit my keyboard in there, so like a skinny desk doesn't really work for this type of setup. And yeah, I just kind of found the perfect one in the end. And yeah, I'm very, very excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Loads of fun ideas, a lot of things I want to do. Yeah. So the desk I use is from IKEA, and they have this sort of modular desk thing where you can buy components and kind of build your own desk. It's like Build-A-Bear but with desks. I've got at the top of my table, well, top of my desk, it's like 1.5 meters by like 85 centimeters. It's big, which gives me loads of space. And that, like, the tabletop costs like 25 quid, and the legs you can get like the cheap simple legs for as low as like I think like a tenner, possibly less. The ones I've got are like trestles, so they have a bit of storage on them, and you can actually, not only can you lift the surface of the desk up and down, you can angle it, which personally I haven't done much of because I don't want to risk all my stuff falling off, but it's a very cool design, and you kind of, like, I think those trestle legs are like 25 quid a piece. Yeah, and I went and customized it, so I got some kind of teal furniture paint, and I painted the trestle legs up teal. So it matches like the color scheme I've got going in this room, which is like teal and gold and copper. It's quite OTT, but it makes me happy. And honestly, doing like furniture customization has been so much fun, especially during the days I couldn't actually like set my desk up because we'd only just moved in and we still had stuff to like clean and stuff. I've been a busy bee. But like I say, if you can find the time to do it, and you can do it all yourself, it saves so much money. Alright, we're nearly done with this base layer. At the moment, I'm just including the beard in the base layer because it's going to be quite a short beard. If it's a long beard, I tend to give it its own separate layer, but for now, we're just going to leave it how it is. Making sure that's all nice and filled in. And I think, yeah, this chap's wearing gloves, so this is the only skin showing that we have. So there is our skin layer. What is my favorite Critical Role character? Wow, that's a really hard choice for me to make. I love a lot of the Critical Role characters. Right now, I have big Yasha love because I also play a barbarian. I love barbarians. I love those lovable himbo dumbasses. I also love Jester. I love them all. I love Ford because Ford's got this cool Eldritch Under the Sea horror vibe, and I love that vibe. But yes. Oh yeah, sorry. Frumpkin the Faking, googling what a tenner and a quid are. Yeah, sorry for my British slang. Tenner, 10 quid. A quid is a pound. Unfortunately, I think the dollar to pound exchange rate isn't great right now. Depending on which way you're going, right? If you're going from dollars to pounds, I think it's good. If you're going the other way, I don't think so. But I'm pretty sure, don't you guys have IKEA over in the UK, right? Over in the UK? Over in the US? What am I talking about? My mind is on art, clearly, while my brain is trying to talk. And I can't talk and art at the same time, clearly. But yeah, I think the actual name of the bits, I think the legs are called Finvard, and the desktop is called Lianmon, I think. My pronunciations are absolutely butchered there, I'm sure. But that's what I can roughly remember them being called. I loved it so much I ordered a second one to be my sewing desk, and that's gonna arrive tomorrow. I have so many things I want to make right now. I'm back in the making mindset. Because I want to get all these costumes done, then I can make a bunch of cool videos. I'm planning to kind of properly start my TikTok and do character stuff on there. So very excited for that. Loads of things I want to do. But yeah, anyway, in terms of actual art, what I'm doing right now, I'm putting down the basic shadow layers right now. So this is what's going to start to give us some shape and 3D elements to the face. I'm going down very gentle increments at a time, as you can kind of tell, because I don't want to go too dark too quickly. We want to build up our tone and colors gradually. And for this character, the light's kind of almost coming straight at them. So we're going to have shadows under the cheekbone on the right hand side and shadows cast by the nose on this side. And then of course we're going to get some heavier shadows under the chin. Whoops. Which then kind of meet up with the shadows that go under the cheekbones there. And then it's kind of a matter of blending it back into the texture of the cheeks. Like so. Yeah, we don't have like a whole ton of IKEAs. We've got one per like major city. Which I guess, considering all the cities in the UK are a lot more bunched together than they are in the US, that's probably that's probably a bit better kind of density of IKEAs than you guys have. Thank you so much to Perseferal, Kaka Hours, and Dusty Gloop for following. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Yeah, the other thing I like about this room is the lighting's pretty nice. It's probably going to get a bit weirder as it gets on in the evening because I'll lose the light on one side, but I've got several lamps set up now, so lighting is at least decent, and with my decent webcam, it's all looking Gucci. Alright, so another area I want to pop the shadow is we're going to have some kind of coming across. I'm just looking at my reference, which is on the other screen. In the shadow of the eye there. Okay, that gives us like the basic shape for the face. And once we kind of put that down, we can think about going a bit dark with shadows and blending them in a bit more. So for now, I'm just going to add some shadow coming around the bottom of the chin. Again, this isn't going to be super visible in the end because we are going to be adding obviously the beard, the facial hair, but for now we're just going to kind of put it in anyway. Did I figure out the peeling wallpaper issue? Well, not quite. We did manage to, we did at least manage to get rid of the mold that was in between the layers of paint and plaster, so that's cleaned out. We hopefully will be having someone in to come have a look at it in a few, well, it's hard to say because we are doing like a shared ownership thing. We're kind of renting and own the house at the same time. It's basically a thing to allow people to get onto the housing market a bit easier because, as I'm sure all of us know, it's bloody impossible to buy a house right now. Yeah, so I still have a big kind of hole in the plaster over there, but my mannequin is kind of standing in the way of it a bit right now. But fingers crossed in a few weeks that'll be solved. Obviously everything's pretty slow right now because of COVID and just kind of gotta roll with the punches. That's what I'm trying to do. Right, we've gone down another kind of shadow intensity, so we can start adding this darker shadow to darker areas of the face. And the first place I like to do it is in the creases around the eyes because I love dramatic dark eyes. Tactical distraction mannequin. Yeah, I mean, gotta earn its keep, you know? Okay, I'm gonna get some more coming around here. Like so. The shadow of the other cheekbone is going to come in slightly there. And then, whoop, that brush is too big. And then I'm going to add some more shadow coming down under this side of the cheekbone. And on that side of the forehead. Just gives us a bit of depth. What is the backstory to this Warlock? I actually don't know what their backstory is. The commissioners don't always share character, like personality details and backstory details because, you know, sometimes they're brand new characters, so they haven't quite worked that out. But at the end of the day, I don't usually need to know all that stuff for commission, but sometimes it's nice to have the extra detail. But yeah, this character, I believe, like I say, it has a Archfey patron. And they are very wintry. I believe they were like saved from freezing or something like that. I'm trying to remember what the commissioner said. But they are actually human, but being an Archfey Warlock has given them slightly fey and odd kind of characteristics, you know? Like a little curl to the ear, and in the eventual image, they've kind of got like this rime, this kind of frosty rime that's crept over their hair and their skin. Like they've just stepped out of a snow shower. Which is very cool. I really love this character. Alright, back to the dark shadows. It was super weird. I had like obviously a week off painting because we just moved into a new place. There was loads to do before I could get back to work. And even just a week away from my tablet, I was like, oh no, I've forgotten how to paint. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. The fear was real. I think I just proved I'm too glued to my computer for my own good. Just gonna add a bit of shadow along the neck, just to keep kind of suggesting the shape, kind of zoom out to see how it's coming along, and then kind of confirm that I'm liking where it's going. I'm gonna add a bit of shadow coming up from just kind of showing us where the edge, the bottom edge of the cheek is on this side. And I want it to be very subtle, so I'm gonna blend it in quite thoroughly. But it just gives the cheek a little bit more definition. I know that I just get terrified of just losing it after only a few days. I'm like, oh, I must draw something. And it's a very silly mindset because you absolutely need to take breaks. But I'm very bad at looking after myself, clearly. Thank you so much, Sarah's Tower and Ishfeltis, for following. If you enjoy the rest of the stream, we're after a nice chill one today. Alright, this is going on really nice. I'm really happy with how this character's going. There's a bit of blending I want to do over here, just bringing that dark a bit more. And then I'm just going to introduce some darker shadows to under the locks at the top. Yeah, this character's a very handsome gentleman. I am blessed people getting me to paint their pretty characters. Just a little bit of shadow in the corner of the lip, where it kind of goes back into the face. And what do I want to do next? I think I want more shadows, you know? That's, to be fair, we've almost had the darkest shadow that I got off the reference image. Oh yes, we're gonna want to pop it in the shadow where it's being cast by the nose. Like so, because that's gonna be quite a deep bit of shadow just there. Rachel, do I have any examples of how I draw tritons? I have drawn a few tritons actually. It was quite a while ago. I've done kind of the iridescent style skin. In fact, one of my own OCs that I painted fairly recently had slightly iridescent skin, like not to the degree that I do a triton, but they were a sea elf, which is somewhat similar. But I love tritons. Tritons are super cool. I'd be very happy to paint one. Gonna add the little nibbit in the nose there. And this needs to come across a bit more. Just so I can widen that out a bit. There we go, that's looking nice. Oh no. Armor, I maintain, is one of the most time-consuming things to draw, especially the high gloss metallic style armor, because it just adds so much time. So I always apologize when people commission me to draw very armored characters. I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is gonna add hours, so I have to charge for it, you know. Phoenix Awaki, no problem at all. That's all on Kyoto's party. Actually no, they've changed their handle now. What do they go by now? It's like Lian. Oh no, they still go by Kyoto's party, yeah. Everyone check out Kyoto's party on Twitter. They are a fantastic artist, and I recommend them super much. And hang on, I just have to log in before I can actually put links in my own damn chat. What am I doing with my life? What even is my password? I've forgotten. There we go. Oh, ignore it. Anyway, Kyoto's party on Twitter. Phoenix Awaki, feel free to link them if you would like to. They're very good. Yeah, Tritons are great. Sea Elves, Tritons, Water Ganassi, all of those are my favorites. Basically, I love me a water-themed character. It always makes me very happy. Right, well, I'm looking, I need to bring my reference back up. It disappeared when I was trying to look at links and stuff. Where's it gone? There we go. Okay, yes, so So, shadow of the nose. That was what I was looking at. Let's get that nice dark brown in here. And then we can also use this in some other truly dark areas. Oh, sorry, Phoenix. It looks like Nightbot's being a butt. Annoyingly, I don't think my mod's here right now. Otherwise, I just get them to let you post the link. But their handle is at Kyoto's Party on Twitter. Definitely check them out. And again, just using this darker color to outline some of the more intense shadowed areas. We're going to just add in the lower eyelid, like so. And then I'm just kind of squinting sometimes to get the idea of how I want something to go. Just a little bit of shadow that comes down from the corner of the eye itself. There we go. Now we're getting some nice definition going on. Yeah, that's the one. This character, yeah, Storm Cleric. Oh, I played one once. In fact, I think they were my first ever 5e character. Was a human Storm Cleric, kind of pirate. That was years ago. That was 2015, I want to say. I mean, I know that's coming into the hobby quite late compared to a lot of people, but I did get into it quite late. I didn't know anyone that was into it before I went to university, and then I suddenly had friends who were nerds as well. So, yeah, we got kind of into that, and it was really fun. And I still play with the first people I ever played D&D with, which is really nice. Right, I'm actually going to go up to the line. There's a little bit of line art here I don't actually need, so I'm going to get rid of that. And we can go back to adding our nice kind of tone. Oh, thank you so much, Phoenix Owaki. What settings do I use for my brush when doing shadows? The same settings I use for basically everything, which is to say, if you go just into your general brush list, ignore all these extra ones. The very top general brushes, you want to take the fourth one down, which is hard, round, pressure, size. You want to select that and go to your settings, like so. And the only things I change are I go on to transfer, make sure that's ticked, make sure these settings are in place. If I don't actually want any flow jitter, I just want opacity jitter, which that needs to be set to minimum, and what's that big clonk? I don't know. And the jitter needs to be set to 0% as well. So these are the pen settings I use for almost everything I will do in the process of this piece of art, apart from shading hair, which I have a different brush for, which hopefully I will be able to show you later, depending on how quickly we get this done. We shall see. I'm running D&D tonight, which will be fun. Does mean I can't go on too late. Alright, now we've got some nice soft shading going on. I think it's time actually, I'm just going to shade this down here, because I always do this. I say I'm going to move on and do a different part, and then I'll notice something that needs a bit more love. I'll go back, because I can't leave anything unfinished. Okay. Next thing to do. We're going to look at doing some highlights. So we're going to make a new layer above the skin. Make sure that Create Clipping Mask has been selected. And this is what we're going to start adding these lighter colours on. So, I'll just kind of check out my reference. We'll start with this. And the first place I tend to look at when I'm doing my highlights is the forehead. Because foreheads attract and reflect a lot of light. And the reason I'm doing this on a separate layer is in case I don't like it, I haven't kind of painted all over the stuff I do like underneath. I can just kind of start again. And then we're just gently blending it into the surrounding colours. Hey, Beckamore, welcome. Oh, sorry, Orange Juice God. Well, there wasn't much to say other than just turn transfer on the general hard round brush. And make sure your size is linked to your pen pressure. As usual, I'll make sure the VOD of this stream is up. I'll try and get it up this evening. I should be at my computer plenty this evening, so. How long do my campaigns usually run? It depends, really. I am guilty of... I've only really ever finished one campaign. I don't do many super long running campaigns because, you know, friends come and go, people move around, it's difficult, right? So, at the moment, I'm running Rime of the Frost Maiden. I believe we've had 4 or 5 games so far, I think. And we're probably about maybe a 6th into the book's content. It's a beefy book. It's gorgeous, but it's beefy. So if you're looking for a quick campaign, probably don't go for that one. What else? I'm currently in my D&D home game that I play in, where I play my druid Mariel. That's been going now for nearly 3 years. It's a long old game, but partially because the DM is a teacher, and I'm sure any teachers in this chat can attest to how much that can make scheduling things like D&D difficult, you know? See, well, that wall in the background, I'm afraid, isn't the newly painted one. That's just a trick of light, making it look darker than it actually is. The newly painted ones are there, and the one you can't see, sadly, is the best one. But yeah, the new place is feeling really lovely. We're getting properly settled into it now, getting into routine. My partner started his new job today, well, no, on Monday. And at the moment he's working from home, but he's going to be going into the office starting next week, which is a bit scary because COVID is still scary here, but, you know, they just want you to come in. But yeah, it's a really nice to have more space, you know. And previously, we both had our computers in one room, which was super mean because whenever I was streaming, it meant that my partner had to basically clear out. So we don't have to do that anymore. My partner's got all his stuff set up in the in our bedroom rather than being in like the office space. Okay, let's just blending these edges a bit. We've got a bit too much sudden light to dark going on, so I just want to address that. Where are you headed in Frost Maiden? Well, this evening I will be taking my party to the Cauldron Caves to meet a certain nasty someone who has stolen a magic cauldron. I'm looking forward to running it. It's one of my favourite little dungeons in the book, I think. And I managed to find someone who'd basically made the dungeon and like done a version of it and uploaded it on Reddit. So I've got that as a full map with dynamic lighting set up in Roll20, which I'm very excited for. Yeah, we lived in like a little flat for quite a few years, but it kind of gave us time to A, save up, and B, like we haven't really bought this house. We only own like a small percentage of it because it's like a thing called shared ownership, which is really useful for actually getting on the ladder, but it does mean you pay a mortgage and rent at the same time, which is a bit scary, but it was like our best option really at the time, especially because being freelance in the art world is not what mortgage lenders like to hear. Alright, we're nearly done with this level of the highlights. I'll be ready to add some brighter ones very soon. Got a slight frown going on right now. I don't want him to look too concerned, so I'm going to tone this down a wee bit. That's why I left it fairly vague when I was talking about it. I don't want to spoil Frost Maiden for anyone. Oh, Lezef, thank you so much for stopping by. Honestly, lovely as always to have you here. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you soon. Okay, from here, yes, let's bring up our next brighter, oh, Leza, thank you so much for the sub gifts in chat, everyone. Do enjoy the subs. If you have just been made a subscriber, you should now have access to the Discord channel, which someone else is probably gonna have to type in, because right now my browser isn't letting me type anything in chat because I had to change my password. But yes, you can now access the Discord, so do check that out if you've been gifted a subscription. I'm talking too much, clearly. Right, highlights, that's what we were doing. Let's continue to do it. I quite like this pink one. You tend to get cooler highlights lower down in the face and your warmer ones higher up. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. Adding a slightly pinkier kind of tone in. And then, as usual, blending it back into the surrounding skin. Because I spend 80% of my life blending paint. Thank you all so much. Seriously, it is lovely, and it's so helpful. It just makes all the stuff that I'm nervous about wanting to do more video YouTube stuff and making tutorials and kind of costume making and all that kind of thing. But obviously having you guys here and being so supportive and lovely all the time makes a huge difference. Makes it much less scary. Thank you, CB Jess. Thank you so much. Oh, you're all so kind. Okay, let's progress to our next brightest highlight color. Happy day to you too, RF Chaos. Welcome to the stream. Oh, this is a nice color. Just gonna roughly paste in that highlight for now. And as we work down the rest of the face, adding highlights elsewhere. For example, we're going to have a little one here. The upper cheek and around that area of the eye socket tends to attract light. Shiny layers! Oh, no problem at all. I try to sort of describe what I'm doing because I find it helpful as an artist when I see that kind of thing, so. And thank you so much, The Jitch, for following. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Alright, so we're getting down these highlights. I'm just gonna put a little bit in here. And then I think we're at the point where I want to blend these back in. Dusty Globe, what specifically are you kind of interested in? Because I've been writing down ideas that I've had for different types of tutorials I want to do. Currently on my Patreon, I have tutorials on how to paint noses, very specific, and painting hair. But I know there are lots of other things people might be interested in. So, for example, I thought that maybe coming up I could do a time-lapse of painting skin, like I've been doing today, with a bit of kind of description over the top to kind of explain my process, stuff like that. And then for slightly different sort of vibes, I'm hopefully going to do a sort of tutorial, or possibly like just documenting a video kind of documenting how I'm currently constructing a 14th century gown for my LARP character that I'm working on at the moment. Yeah, there's a tutorial on rendering hair on my Patreon, which if you're a subscriber, I believe any level above Mero, you should be able to find. It might just be a little bit, little scroll back possibly. Okay, now let's just gently blend all this in. I say gently because Photoshop might just drop a big blob of color if I'm not careful. Sometimes it does. The other good news was I called our internet provider this morning because we weren't getting what we were supposed to be paying for, and it turns out we were still on the contract of people who lived here before us. So we got a big boost to our internet speed today, which was great. Chainmail tutorial. I could do that. I don't actually paint an awful lot of chainmail because, as you can probably guess, chainmail is quite a time-consuming one. But it's definitely something I could look at doing a tutorial of. There are lots of... When it comes to things like chainmail, it can actually be very useful to use existing textures. And a bit like if you were applying textures to a 3D model, you can use kind of photo textures of things like chainmail and then sort of paint over them and edit them into your image. If you're, well, I come from a concept art background, so there's a lot of kind of photo bashing in things in the past that I've done. I don't tend to do it quite so much these days. I don't really like It doesn't really fit in with my paint style, which is more traditional. But when it comes to things like chainmail, some photo bashing techniques can be quite useful. Alright, that's getting nice and blended. Let's just do a little bit more, and then I think I'll be able to move on to the rest of the face. Foreheads take a long time. That's just the way they are. You hear my pen tippy-tapping against the tablet. Yeah, so before I went full freelance with the TTRPG illustration, I actually worked at a games company doing concept art and various CG stuff, which was very cool. Come on, you, get blending. It takes a while sometimes, don't it? Better go wish them a late happy birthday. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this blend. We're almost there. It looks a little bit like hammered metal right now because of the circular brush marks, but slowly and surely we'll work those out. I'm barely like even tickling the tablet at this point. You really have to touch very lightly when you're blending. Alright, I think that'll do us for now. I'm gonna save because I do not particularly want to lose everything we've worked on so far. Oh, thank you so much ever so slightly. Yeah, this character, I adore them. And welcome, Elleran! Haven't seen you for a little while. I hope you're doing alright. Yeah, hopefully I should be back to my normal timetable now. So Wednesdays, Fridays, 5 o'clock for my art streams. Should be back to normality. Just blending in above the cheekbone now. And it's just constant using the eyedrop sampler tool to sample the blended colors between two areas and then painting gently to blend them. There's no actual blending tool that I use. It's all based on eyedropping paint colors and adding more paint. Because I don't really find that any of Photoshop's blending tools are particularly nice. I don't really like them, so I kind of do it all by hand. Which probably means things take longer than they need to, but I think it creates a rather unique style. How'd the house move go? Very well, thank you. I am settled in my new kind of office/studio space. Still very unfinished. Unfortunately, the best looking part is the bit that my desk is against, so you cannot see it. Behind me is a bit of a mess of a bare plastered bit of a wall because we've got some damp problems we need to sort out. So I kind of have covered it up with my technical mannequin, as you can tell. But overall, it's really nice, like much more space than we had in our little flat before, so I can be more creative. Thank you so much to the Red the Fox Alter account for following, and 12-Sided Guy. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Just gonna add a little bit of highlight on the other side there. Just blend it into the cheek. Yeah, I'm really liking this. And then, yeah, just a tiny bit more blending here, I think. Get these colors really looking nice and as seamless as possible. There we go. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. So let's save. What kind of damp problems? Well, we're concerned that the LED flashing, or whatever it's made of, it might not be LED, but the flashing between the roof and the wall in one corner of the house is potentially damaged. It's not really safe for us to poke around in the roof cavity to find out ourselves, so hopefully gonna get someone to look at it soon. But if the flashing is damaged, it explains why there's just this one area of wall that's damp and where the paint's just kind of falling off. And because this is like a shared ownership property, they're technically responsible for structural issues and stuff like that. So if that is the problem, then we don't have to pay to fix it. It should be on their building insurance. Okay, what I'm going to do now, you can kind of see what it looks like without the highlights. They really kind of add to the shape and everything of the face. I am going to now merge that down to the rest of the skin layer. So now it's all on one little layer. And the next thing to do is to look at the nose and the lips, which I tend to do on a separate layer to start with, just so I don't spoil anything I already like that I've done. So, new layer, same as before, we're going to create that clipping mask just to make sure we can't paint outside of the areas we've already kind of established. So, it's nose time. So with noses, I have a tutorial for painting noses on the Patreon, so some of you might be familiar with how I approach them. I usually start with a colour that's derived from the base skin tone, but it's slightly pushed towards red and it's slightly more saturated and dark. This is because you tend to get a lot of blood vessels near the surface of the nose, which makes it a little bit more saturated than the rest of the face, especially if someone has a cold. Not that this chap has a cold, that would be awkward considering he's kind of like a wintry archfey being. But you still have that kind of increased colour around the nose area. Alright, and it starts to look a bit like what I call the Animal Crossing method, which is I start by filling in the basic triangle shape of the nose, so it looks a bit like an Animal Crossing village to start with. And from there, we then are going to identify a shadow colour, kind of using the darker shadows we have from elsewhere. Again, pushing them more towards the red, so they're quite warm. And then we are just basically going to use this to not outline, but put a basic bit of shadow around the areas of the nose, which are also in shadow. And this is where my reference fails to be useful because they've got different lighting than what I'm using. So that's usually how I start, with like an underneath bit. And then what I will do is we will blend that a little bit. So I will grab a slightly large brush, very gently as usual, paint over the join where those colours kind of meet. Also, do tell me if the music's loud enough. Sometimes it can be a little quiet or loud. Exactly, yeah. Redder than usual can also suggest like a drunkard type character. That's definitely the case. And because of the way our shadows are working, the left-hand side of the nods is going to be more in shadow than the right is. And I'm just gonna, I've realised that it's gone over the edge a bit, so I'm just gonna replace that dark bit a bit there. And then again, we're gonna blend this line coming down here. It's just naturally gonna be a wee bit darker there. Okay, so the next thing to do is to do kind of the curl of where the nostril comes around. So following the shape of the line art and the shape of this chap's nose, we're gonna add just a little dimple of shadow there, where the nose coils around and joins the rest of the face. You can kind of see how that shape's coming together? Oh yes, the big blend is coming. As you expected, we blend a bit now, just to kind of soften our shape a little bit. And then at this point, I like to do what I call the Diamond of Power, which is a super dumb name for it, where I will basically grab a colour from elsewhere on the face. We will also take a smaller brush and paint what is like a sort of a basic diamond shape of this lighter colour, a bit gentler on the side that's in shadow, on the area of the nose that's going to be catching and reflecting the most light. Like so, kind of see that there's a sort of a diamond you can kind of identify. Obviously everyone has a different shaped nose, but I find a diamond is the easiest place to start for adding my highlights. Then swapping up to a larger brush, even bigger than that I think. Yes, this will do nicely. we then are going to take, in fact, we're going to grab a lighter color, a lighter highlight. It gets quite bright at the bridge, and then a bit gentler as it runs down the length of the nose before it gets brighter again in that diamond. And at this point, it's a good place to do some more blending. Blending in the light at the top of the nose with kind of that surrounding area. You can then blend in some of the forehead coming down. Like so. Can I see what's going on there? And I'm also going to blend some of this bit, because this bit in general is going to be a bit lighter. The bit where the cheek kind of swoops up to the nose can often kind of reflect light. It's also a part of the face that tends to get a lot kind of greasier and more reflective than other parts, which is worth blending in mind, worth bearing in mind. I've got blending on the bloody brain. And I'm just going to continue that bit of darkness out a little bit. And yeah, this is coming together quite nicely. Yeah, at this point it can also be worth blending in the edges of the diamond a bit. Now we're kind of happy with its position. And just kind of looking at my reference, we're going to have a little bit of light on the nostril side as well. Kind of around here. That's an intelligent cat. Are they called Frumpkin? I love the name Frumpkin. It's so cute. Good morning, Pie Sharp. Welcome to the stream. We're working on a delightful human warlock today. Alright, so we've basically got the shape of the nose down. We've got most of the highlights down. I'm going to just, I'm going to move that highlight over a little bit. And then I'm going to add a bit more light, which we are going to get at the bridge here. Reflecting a bit more light there. And we're also going to get a bit more light here, which I'm then going to blend in. I need to get a GIF. I don't know if anyone's seen it. The movie Rango. Near the start, there's this frog that tries to look like a stone so it doesn't get eaten by a bird, and it keeps saying like blend in. And I need to get a GIF of that moment because I feel like it's very important for this channel. And all right, and that's a nose, folks. Okay, so with that, there's our basic nose done. So the next thing to do is I'm going to start kind of working into the line art a bit. At the moment it's a bit too heavy. It's dominating the it's dominating the image a bit much. We want to tone it down. So starting with the nose, we're going to grab a darker color derived from the colors we've used for the like the rest of it. And we're going to use this to paint on top of the line art on a new layer. I should probably name it now. I call Overlines, which is on top of the line art, which means we can essentially paint line art completely out of it if we don't want it anymore, or we can just make it a bit more subtle, which is kind of what I'm doing here. Subtlety can be the name of the game when it comes to this kind of style sometimes. And as always, of course, you're going to want to make sure it's nice and softly blended in. Yes, this character is, like I say, an Archfey Warlock, or at least that's what their patron is. So a lot of their armor is very Fey inspired, as well as the curl of the ear tip there. Yeah, so what else are we going to do? We want to add in the nostrils, which are going to be very dark, of course. So we are just going to very gently, I'm going to stick with this brush I think, mark out the general shape of the nostrils, adding that really dark colour around the edges where they're going to obviously require it. And then that's going to kind of carry on underneath there. Kind of see that I'm very much looking at reference as I'm doing this because it is quite a complicated part of the piece. Under the nose is always difficult. And then we're just kind of want that to join very gently there. Oh, Deathstorm, thank you so much. But yeah, you see kind of this is making the nose look a bit more realistic before we then kind of blend it out into the nice kind of mid-brown. There's still going to be a little bit of shadow under the nostril, which I'm going to pop in like so. But it's going to be a lot less kind of heavy and pronounced. Like so. We are going to have a bit more pronounced shadow though over here because the nose is casting its own kind of deep shadow. So I'm going to leave that like that. Oops, zooming in a bit too hard. Thank you so much to Azalaim and Robin O'Lawson for following. If you enjoy the stream. There we go. That just brings out the other nostril a bit. And that's basically the nose. It's basically noses. And there is like a tutorial for the way I paint noses like that on the Patreon. Ooh, a tutorial about dresses with transparent... Okay, yeah, so like sheer fabrics, that kind of thing. I can definitely try and do a tutorial for that at some point. Cool, so with the nose done, the next thing I like to paint in are the lips. So going back to the original layer where we started developing the nose, it is now time for the lips. You can see over here I've prepared some colours in advance for this. And we're gonna now just add those in. Oh dear, I've got hiccups, that's not a good sign. Okay, there's the base for the top lip. I'm gonna make a different layer for the bottom lip just because it can be easier to separate things out. There we go. Those are our base colours. If this was cell shaded, that's kind of what they'd be looking like. Hey, the Bean Beanson, welcome to the stream. Thank you very much for joining us. So let's get back to the top lip because I tend to start shading that before I work on the bottom one. So of course, we're going to have shadow at those corners. Thank you very much for Carmecu for following. I hope I said that right. If not, please do correct me. Yes, we're going to get these shadows occurring, especially on the dark side of the lip, the side that's not facing our light, and a little bit on where it just kind of is naturally shadowing itself as it kind of folds underneath. And we're going to want to bring a little bit of this pink in as well. The moment the brown isn't quite the right color. So we're just going to saturate it a little bit. By bringing in a little bit of brighter tone, like so. There's our top lip coming together. And for the bottom lip, very similar to top lip really. We take a shadow color, starting at the corners because those tend to be darker. And of course, giving some attention to the, in this case, that side, because that's the side in shadow. Going down to a smaller brush to get that level of detail that we so crave. Just gonna take it back a little bit there. And very gently just kind of smoothing out these shadows and working them in. And hey, Bean Benson, yeah, I'm doing very well. It's been a little tiring here. I kind of spent yesterday with my partner decorating our lounge, so lots of painting up on ladders and trying not to fall to my doom. Okay, so we do have the shadow that comes up here. But we're also going to have some cool highlights coming in very soon. So I'm going to get to those in a minute when I've finished with the rest of the lips. For now, we need to do a bit more blending. We're also going to have some of this nice tasty shadow coming in on the top part, like so, kind of cast by the top lip. Like so. How big is the canvas that I start with? So, when I start sketching, I tend to start with a default A4 canvas at 300 dpi. That allows me to kind of have the space I need for the sketch. when it comes to doing the rendering and the line art, I will then make that canvas a lot bigger. I will bump it up to about around 3.5k pixels wide by however it automatically resizes it to deep. And I find that's generally enough. Okay, I want some more color in here, and I want it to be on the pinker end of the spectrum. So, we need color, we need shadow. Let's pop them in together. Make these lips nice and deep. I'm very excited to launching my TikTok properly. I'm looking forward to linking you all to it, but also terrified. Streaming is one thing, TikTok is entirely more scary. Alright, yeah, that's the shape's coming along nice. There are some elements I want to add in that I have not yet done. Such as, I'm gonna go up to Overlines for this actually. Yes, it's gonna be very fun. I just need to wait. I've got some costume bits coming, hopefully soon. I'm very excited for them. I'm hoping to kind of show like my costume making stuff on TikTok, like little quick breakdowns of how I made a thing. All that kind of stuff I'm hoping to do on my TikTok. Alright, giving these lips a bit of texture now. What I'm also going to do is, now we're on the Overlines layer, we can calm down the line art a bit because it's a little bit too strong in places, and we need to tone it down. I mean, I only recently got TikTok because a lot of my friends are on it and they make really cool stuff, and I found it very inspiring. So they kind of dragged me on board. I don't know if any of you follow Gabe James Games. His TikTok is amazing and should be followed. Oh, the Bean Beanson, thank you so much. Well, hopefully it won't be too long before I can open commissions then soon. Like I mentioned before, I'm gradually working through my list. I'm nearly there now. It's been a long process, especially with the house move compounding everything, and my NDA project is obviously still going on. But the time will soon be nigh. Alright, let's grab... Where's the pink highlight on? I want that. Is that the pink highlight? It's kind of... it'll do. It'll do for now. I can always make it lighter. Because you tend to get kind of a light ring around kind of the area of the lips, so we're going to add that in. Like so. Blend it a little bit here. And don't forget to save, very important, thank you for the reminder. Okay. Yeah, we're nearly there with these lips now. I kind of want to, part of me wants to make them darker. Like, I don't think they're dark enough. At least the top lip. I want that kind of drama of having almost like lipstick on the top lip. So... let's just blend in this kind of slightly pinky brown around here. Ooh, that's already better. I definitely like that. And we are also going to blend in the side bit because at the moment it's too dark. You want to do that, and then we're going to have a little bit of light ringing coming along here. It needs to tail out a little bit sooner down the bottom. But that's easily enough done. Alright, let's save because I'm really happy with this. Quick, oops, my headphones just got yanked out of my ear. But quick question: would it cost extra to have a full armor character? To have an extra full armor in the character concept? So yes, armor is unfortunately incredibly time-consuming to paint. So that would have to kind of be like discussed as almost like an extra character. Yeah, just like the way in which armor appears and is rendered is very time consuming, because obviously the metallic elements reflect a lot of light, they reflect shapes onto themselves, and it's the same reason that characters wearing full plate can be a little bit more expensive, purely because it does just take an awful long time to render them out. Thank you so much, Orange Juice God, for joining us. I look forward to seeing you around next time. Have a lovely week until then. I should have said, we are now, I'm now moving on to giving the eyes some treatment, because I'm happy with the lips, so it's time for eyes. And yeah, we just want to get these eyelids nice and defined, basically. And yeah, it's coming on quite naturally, actually. I'm really enjoying this character. They've been a lot of fun to paint. I want a slightly redder shadow. There we go. Oop, am I gonna sneeze? I can't decide. Maybe. We'll find out together. Yeah, smoky eyes. Perfect. I want to draw this a little darker so I can drag a shadow a little higher above it. Like so. Just so both eyes kind of match nicely. Alright, yeah, I'm really liking this. This is great. I think it's time we do another save. And I think I might pop in the eyes now. I think the eyes are what we're going to do. The eyes themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge down both of these layers. We're happy with them, so they can be part of the main. You kind of see what it looks like without that Overlines layer. It really does kind of make it a lot better. So, new layer. This time I'm not going to clip it down. Oh, before I do that, I just want to give the eyelashes a little bit of love. Who doesn't like a character with luxurious eyelashes? There we go. A little bit of eyeliner on there, but you know, looks great. Tablet gloves, very useful. I always wear one these days, just keeps my tablet nice and clean, and I cannot recommend it enough. Cool, back down to this layer. It's time to render the eyes. Now, I did prepare some colors for this earlier. I'm so prepared. I'm going to use this as a base. And go from there. Oh, I like this song. And we want to make sure the opacity is nice and full, so that's why I tend to go over the same area a couple of times sometimes. Okay, I'm also just going to shave off the bottom a tiny bit. There we go. The 7 arc, thank you very much. Alright, so there's our base for our eyes. As you can see, I'm going to put a clipping mask on those and introduce our shadow color, which is going to be more dominant on the left eye than the right. Does it stop you pressing? Yes, it does. I actually turn off the touch screen capabilities on my tablets just because I don't really use them. I probably could save time if I used them, but I don't, so I just turn them off. Like I say, I paint like a traditional artist a lot of the time. Just gonna blend that line there. is looking good. We're going to then grab a slightly lighter colour. Just to add a little bit of light to these whites. Like so. What am I using? I'm using the Cintiq 16, not the Pro. It's just the Cintiq 16. Retails at about $420, I think. Yeah, you can also use. I also have a microfiber cloth on hand usually. Just to, I tend to like just clean the surface of my tablet, give it a wipe fairly regularly. I don't like having little grease spots at all. I'm very persnickety about that kind of thing. Gonna do a tad more deeper shadows in that corner on the side where it's a bit darker. Like so. And I'm also, actually, before I forget, I need to paint in this little corner here. Make this darker. Which is then going to have, on the overlines layer, just a little bit of light. Okay, now I'm going to do the fun part, which is the iris itself. I'm just going to double check what colour this character's eyes are, because I can't actually remember. Patreon, where you go? Go away, I'm looking for messages. Wow, sometimes it's slow when you really don't want it to be, huh? There we go. Okay, this character's eyes are going to be... Okay, they haven't been specific. I think I'm going to do these eyes like a teal green because I don't... Oh, I could make it really pale. Oh, a really pale bluish green. Yes, that's where we're going with this chat. Sorry, I got excited a bit there. We're going to make a new layer. We're going to clip it to the layer below. And we are going to start our adventure of painting these spooky, pale, greeny eyes. What colour is their hair going to be? Their hair is going to be, I believe, black, but they're going to have lots of kind of frosty white kind of accents. It's like their hair has started to freeze. Okay, not a bad starting point. I kind of want their eyes to remind you like of a frosty kind of glacial forest. So we're going to start by, we've got base colour down. I add a bit of shading coming from the top. Like so. And then using my usual blending technique, I will just gently blend those two to create a very rough gradient. And this is like the starting point for our eyes. And then next, we are going to jump up to that overlines layer. We are going to grab a almost black shade of this colour. We are going to roughly just pop in the pupil, like so. Oh, Amos wondering, thank you so much. And then very gently, with the same dark colour, kind of paint across the top of the eye to blend the pupil in to the rest of the form, like so. And that's our very basic eye. The next thing to do is, still on this overlines layer, is to add some brightness. So we're going to grab a lighter colour there. We're going to switch right down to a size 4 brush. Whoops, come on. And then I start by doing a very gentle ring around the pupil itself. Same on both sides. And then lots of like little bits radiating outwards from that line. Like so. And then a similar thing I often do is I will put that ring on the outer edge as well. Just gives the eyes a bit of texture. And then finally, some really bright little points, I think. Just to make it look very frosty, you know. The cold doesn't bother him anyway. Alright, and then finally we're going to make Elaran's favourite layer ever, which is the Shinies layer, and grab a colour that is almost white to just add a little bright spot of light into the eye itself. And see if we like it. Yeah, I like that. That works for me. So, now we have to think of the next thing to do. And in this case, what shall I do next? Let's do his eyebrows, because I can't just leave them not filled in. I'm also going to just merge that down. I'm going to name this eyes as well, so I don't kind of lose that. Brows, I'm just going to do on the same layer as the face for now. When it comes to painting dark brown, almost black, I will usually start with a very dark magenta, reddish magenta, rather than actually using brown. I find it just looks a bit more realistic than going straight into browns if you go into reds instead. And then I'm just gonna fill in the areas I've marked out for the eyebrows. Thank you so much, Tyree Art. For size resolution, it really depends. I usually start with my sketches just on an A4 sized canvas, which is at 300 DPI. And then when it comes to doing the line art and doing like the actual paintwork like I'm doing now, I will size up so that the canvas is usually between 3 and 4K wide, depending on the shape of the canvas. In the case of this fellow, this canvas is 3.4K wide, which is about typical for this aspect ratio for me. I don't tend to go higher than that because my computer struggles a bit. But yes, that's roughly kind of the situation I kind of am dealing with. Right, it's going to add a little bit of highlight on these brows, give them a little bit of texture. Like so. And yeah, I'm quite happy with those. They're very long. I don't know if they're a bit too long. I'm tempted to just like cut into this edge with a bit of overlines. And then I might just chop into them a little bit, just so they're not quite so perfect, you know? Perfect. Alright, that's great. So, next up. I know I need to do the facial hair, but I put it off because I really don't like painting facial hair. So I think what I might do instead is let's put down the base color for the hair, because I think that would be more interesting to watch. Anyway, so new layer below the skin layer, so we can just kind of use, we don't need to worry about painting over it. And then we're gonna grab a color based on our eyebrows to make sure it fits in, and then we're just gonna whack down the base layer for the hair. Yeah, facial hair is weird. I do a mix of things, depending on how thick it is. I think this chap thankfully doesn't have, it's almost harder when you've got the 5 o'clock shadow or stubbly style facial hair, because you need to be able to see the full tone of the skin underneath, whilst also having the texture of the bristliness on top. And doing both of those things is a nightmare. It usually involves me using several multiply layers to kind of layer up the textures. For this chap, it might be able to be done in a normal layer. We'll see. I'll probably have this character done in the next few days anyway, maybe, so you'll be able to see what it looks like then. Sometimes I separate my hairstyles into the front bit, and then if there's a bun or a ponytail, sometimes I'll make that a layer its own. But in this case, because we're already separating it via the top locks and the undercut, I'm not gonna make any extra layers. And yeah, we're just gonna basically just fill out this space. Sometimes I'll just do an outline first and then come out and just fill it. Can speed things up a bit sometimes. Not being super tidy with it. Again, we don't want the locks to look like plasticky, if that makes sense. You want them to retain that nice soft texture. Oh, thank you so much, ever so slightly. That's very, very lovely to hear. I wish you all the best of luck with your work, and I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Okay, we're nearly there with this base layer. Putting down base colors is always a little bit dull. Probably one of my least favorite parts of the process, to be honest. Okay, let's just use a fill to do this quickly. And then I'll have to just go around and tidy up those edges. Woo, there we go. Alright, cool. So, what I might do, just because it looks super jarring right now, I'm just going to make another layer and just scribble in the undercut, just so it offends my eyes less, to not have that glaringly white down there. Okay, and next thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use this opportunity to tidy up the skin layer. You can see multiple places where the, where the skin has gone outside of the boundaries of its lines a bit, so we're going to use this opportunity just to tidy that up a wee bit. Like so. Just so it looks a little bit less like the skin's bleeding into the hair and more like the hair is coming from the hairline. Like so. Okay. Lovely. So now we can start actually enjoying doing the hair. So with that layer that we just did, making sure that we have that turned on, we are going to, firstly, starting from the color we use for the basic layer of the hair, we are going to grab a darker variant. The hair's already very dark, so I'm not going to go too much darker. But then basically around areas of shadow, I'm just going to really roughly paint in some darker areas like you can see. And the opposite holds true, that for the highlights, it's going to be the lighter areas where I just scribble in this lighter color, which is a slightly more grayed out version of the same kind of tone of red. I find this is the most effective way to start achieving kind of black hair. Then we're going to go into filter and Gaussian blur, and not that hard. We're going to blur that so we basically have a very basic gradient, going from dark to mid to nice and bright, and then back to dark again. Oh, brush markers are super hard to use, so kudos. They're really fun, but I find them quite a challenge. Ryan Films, thank you very much. It did make me think of you. You always had amazing hair. What software am I using? I'm using Adobe Photoshop CC. It is kind of what I've always used to paint in. I know there are definitely cheaper alternatives that have different functions, depending on what you want really, but for me, Photoshop's kind of always done what I needed it to, you know? Okay, so when it comes to rendering out hair, there is a very specific brush set that I use that I'm happy to share with people. It's called the Lewin Fur Brushes set. If you Google it, I believe it's on Gumroad. You can pick it up for like a pay what you want kind of thing. Do throw some cash at the artist if you can. It means a lot to all us artists to have a little bit of passive income like that. But yeah, the brush I'm using is called Fur Pointy End, and it's great for rendering hair of all types. Oh yeah, I used to have some Copics. I think a lot of digital artists, who were certainly digital artists who were into manga in their younger years, got Copics. And they're super cool, but I didn't realize you needed special paper to start with that didn't just like soak them up. So I made a lot of mess with those when I was starting out. But they were great. They were a great learning tool. I copied a lot of Naruto covers when I was learning to kind of blend with colors and use Copics. But yeah, we're just going to kind of continue rendering out this hair for now. And this brush is just really good for doing all this kind of thing, really. It really adds a lot of texture. Cool. Doing the same over here. It starts to get a bit darker, so we start to eyedrop from the darkest points of the hair to make sure the shadows kind of continue to move with the rest. And the shadows don't end up getting all insipid where we want them to kind of stand out nicely. Like so. I used to have a what's called Bristol board, which was like very thick, smooth paper, which I found was super good for using Copics. Unfortunately, it was also really expensive, so I was always too terrified to use it, which meant I never actually really used it, so in the end it was a bit pointless. I had a little notebook when I was about 15 that I filled for little Copic doodles. I must have drawn so many iterations of Conan from Naruto because she was super cool. in our book using Copics. Okay. So we've done shadows, and that's great. But now I think it's time we introduce some lights as well. Because you're always going to get a little bit of side lighting, even in the darkest parts of the hair. So just these outer kind of twists are going to have a little bit of light on them. Like so. Now, overall though, it's still going to be kept very dark. But it does mean we can also introduce some lighter highlights here, which I'm going to do now. Again, this kind of texture is a bit different to how I regularly shade. You just got to basically work in shorter little strokes. Okay, yeah, that's looking quite nice. I'm just going to introduce a bit of these highlights down here too. Like so. And then we're going to save because I don't want to lose it all. At this point, sometimes it's useful to mess around with the color balancing a bit. You could turn it blue, or you can just push different values to kind of change it around a bit. So I could push it towards a colder blue, which I think is actually suitable for this character given his very wintry nature that we're kind of doing here. Yeah. Now for the hair underneath, obviously this hair has been cut very short, so it's going to have a different texture. So we're going to start again by bringing in some shadows, and because this hair is very short and it's more kind of afro textured, we're not going to be using the normal fur brush. I'm going back to using my round brush, at least at this point. And my desk is wobbling when I'm doing these little very small kind of circular brush strokes. It doesn't like it. So if there's a weird sound, that's probably what it is. But yeah, again, it's a very different texture, so you can kind of achieve that by using a different texture when you're actually kind of painting in the strokes. And then once you've got like this basic basic kind of tone building up, you can then go in eyedropping between the colors and a much smaller brush to not just blend, but help kind of build up the texture of the hair. Like so. And you could do the same thing I did earlier. You can introduce a few kind of side lighting over there. Excuse me. And you can introduce some highlights. Particularly in this case, we're going to get highlights kind of coming in around the front. And the kind of front areas of the hair. And we're going to want to blend that in, as always. Like I say, 80% of my time is spent blending. Things we sacrifice for a consistent style, eh? Alright, and then what I'm also going to do, I'm going to jump onto the Overlines layer, and I am just going to, a small brush, I think 6 will probably do it. We are basically just going to soften the hard line at the moment of the hairline, like so. Elran. Mando Wookie, thank you so much. Yeah, the move is more or less done now. It's just a matter of decorating and sorting out the new place. But yeah, it's been really nice so far. I'm very lucky. Cool. Just going to add a teensy bit of side lighting there, coming in from that right hand side, and likewise, like the top bit, this hair is also going to need to be pushed. Oop, wrong menu. Color balance, that's what I wanted. Pushed a little bit that way to make it a little colder. And I think the last thing I will do for this evening is let's render out the ear, because I completely forgot about the ear and that was rude of me don't forget ears. Alright, so with ears, I usually start with the darkest point. So that's like the internal bit of the ear here. Pop that in a nice dark color. And then you can softly kind of go around the other bits. Bearing in mind, this all down here is going to be facial hair, so we don't need to worry about this connection too much. So just kind of flicking up through here, working out where our shadows are. We're going to have a little bit of shadow in there at the top. It's funny, I understood how to draw ears a lot better after I got like prosthetic elfie ears to kind of wear for my LARP characters and cosplay and stuff, and you can actually look at them and be like, huh, so that's how it works. Okay, let's introduce a little bit more shadow, I think, and at this point I'm going to jump back up to the Overlines layer. Like so, just kind of go around these edges, minimizing as usual the super harsh lines of the line arts. We don't want them to be that harsh. Get a little darker bit in there, and thus. And then we can add like lighter tones around as well. We don't need everything to be super dark all the time. Okay, yeah, it's all coming together. Oh no, so many ear puns, please stop. I am gonna add a little bit of light just on that top edge there, coming on the Y bit there and up, and then finally just a little bit on the tip, you know. And there we have, that's probably where we're going to leave our Frosty Warlock for now. So I believe it's time to drop some links in chat as we come to the end of today's stream. To start off with, if you would like to find out when I'm streaming and keep an eye on my finished pieces. Oh my god, I completely forgot. It's not letting me sign in. Ah! Okay, let's try and do this quickly. It's gonna make me have to put in like bullshit. Ah! So annoying, you know? Yeah, I will put some links in soon, one day. Maybe. Alright, here we go. Alright, I'm in! I finally hacked into my own stream. Well done me! You know, you're not gonna hear about my DeviantArt, sorry. But you will hear about my Twitter. If you would like to find out when I'm streaming next and see my latest uploaded artwork, do check out my Twitter. I also have Instagram, check that out for basically the same sort of thing. I'll put like costume updates and other stuff on there too, so give that a little check out. Next up is my YouTube channel, where I should soon be adding some more content. I'm hoping to start filming some bits for a costume making video this weekend, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Next up, ArtStation. Most of my portfolio can be found on ArtStation. I might migrate it soon somewhere else. I haven't decided yet. We'll see. Music. If you've enjoyed the music in the stream, and I know I do, it's by an artist named Kai Engel, who does really lovely ambient royalty-free music on the Free Music Archive and on Spotify, so do go and check out their work. And lastly, but certainly not least, Patreon. If you want to throw a bit of extra support my way, Patreon is... Ooh, my hair is going everywhere. Patreon is the best place to do it. That'll do, whatever. It has various rewards for different tiers, starting with, like, you get to see works in progress and sketches I don't upload anywhere else. I also do tutorials. There's a couple on there at the moment. I'd like to do some more soon, maybe some kind of narrated ones. And yeah, it also gives you, if you haven't already subscribed on Twitch, it also gives you access to the Discord server. So, with that all said and done, I believe that is probably everything for today's stream. So I thank you all so very much for joining me today. It's been really fun to paint this character with all of you. I'm very much looking forward to Friday when I will be back at 5 p.m. GMT for my next art stream. I might still be working on this chat, or I might be working on something completely different, who knows. But until then, stay cozy, stay safe, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.